Okay, my name is Jemimah, and my presentation today, I sent the new title, but it's still okay. Changing the narrative of childhood in Nigeria through visual storytelling. This is a photograph. This photograph shows me on my sixth birthday with my brother and sister. I had a very special childhood, even though we experienced conflict and lost a father when I was very young. My childhood was still special, and this is one of the few pictures that I have that depicts my childhood as it was. Um, much of my childhood was, um, much of my childhood, I had the opportunity to have so many adventures. I love adventures. So go hiking with my brother and sisters, with my cousins, bicycle riding, and swimming even. However, because those parts of my childhood were not documented, I only have one of the pictures of the hill in Riyom, in Jos, Nigeria, which my siblings and I climbed sometime in our childhood. Those are not my siblings and I in the picture. It's just a photograph from Google to depict the hill. Now, if you do a Google search on children in Nigeria, I did a Google search, and majority of the pictures that I find online are pictures that talk about poverty, out of school children, talk about war, talk about conflict, talk about dying children, sick children, malaria, HIV, AIDS, and the list goes on and on and on of negative adjectives to describe children in Nigeria. And that is the only part of my childhood that is documented. Two photographs side by side. The photograph on my left shows a picture that was from a Google search that I did about children in Nigeria. And this was the second picture that came out. The first picture was also not a good pretty sight. The second picture was this, and then multiple other pictures of children, poverty, poor children in conflict situations, sick children, dying children. And on the right, I also have a photograph which also depicts Nigeria. It is a girl graduating from primary school. It is a project that I did back at home, which was document the stories of children graduating from primary school going into high school. And this is also Nigeria. So children do graduate from school in Nigeria, even though it is told to the world that millions of us are out of school. So a research was done by the Media Monitoring Project, and it was done on how children are represented in the news in Africa, especially. And this 6% shows that only 6% of news coverage was given to children in Africa and children in Nigeria specifically. The remaining, and then I asked what happens to the remaining 94%. The remaining 94% is dedicated to politics, dedicated to other more important things. And only 6% is given to children's reporting. And even at this 6%, majority of the news, even at this 6%, is about negative things that are happening. People are rarely talking about the positive side of being a child in Nigeria. So one day after arriving in the US, I was going to the Dollar Tree store, because I was so excited to get craft materials and take home to teach kids in my community where I work. And this nice old lady saw me. I was trying to cross the road and it was raining, so she gave me a lift. And while we were in the car, she were conversing, and she was asking, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was telling her about my work. And then she made a very good compliment. She said, "You speak really good English." And even though I said thank you and I was grateful for the compliment, I left that conversation thinking, why would she comment about my English? Why would she say I speak good English for an African? And I was wondering, did she have this narrative because she has been told by the media that millions of children in Africa are out of school and we have terrible education? She did not know the history of my English foundation, or know that I had had Ghanaian teachers who were excellent English teachers. I had had Nigerians who were excellent English teachers. I had librarians who were excellent English teachers. And she didn't even know that I loved reading Enid Blyton's books when I was growing up. She didn't know that I loved to read C.S. Lewis. She didn't know all this other part of my childhood because the only part of childhood in Africa that she was exposed to was the fact that education in Africa is very terrible. Lifetime Tales, that's the name of my personal blog, where I am working to change the perspective and the narrative of childhood in Africa. In this photograph, I have a photograph of my daughter. She'll soon be 10 months old. Her name is Emmett. In this other photograph, I have a photograph of my niece. Her name is Samara. Um, Samara and Emmett both love to play the guitar. Emmett started playing the guitar when she was barely 4 months old. Samara just loves to strum the guitar and sing her heart out. And these are both candid moments that I took of them while they were doing on different days in the living room. And I just wondered if I can tell more stories about these children in Africa, then it will help to change the narrative of what childhood in Africa looks like. It would help to know that despite all the negative things that happen, yes, I'm not oblivious of that fact, there is still so much that is happy and positive about childhood in Africa. And I believe that to tell only the negative sides of the story is to demean this potential of the children in Africa. Now, the Oslo Challenge was launched in 1999 on 20th November. It was launched as part of the Rights of the Child Convention, and it calls on people who participate in any way at all with children and media to report children more positively and not only negatively. So there's a statement that goes on in the media where it says, if it bleeds, it leads. And I believe that we can tell stories about Africa without bleeding, but leading. I believe that we can tell stories about children in Africa without bleeding, but also leading. And like I said before, I believe that to insist only on the negative stories of children in Nigeria and in Africa is to demean our potential, is to tell the world that we are not good enough, meanwhile we are. It is to tell the world that there is no hope in Africa, meanwhile there is a lot of hope in Africa. And this is why I am doing what I am doing, mostly because of the children around me. I do not want for their potentials to be demeaned. I do not want them to go out to the world and then people tell them that because they came out of Africa, then they have it better. No, I want people to also know that there in Africa, there are good things that are happening for children, and there are good things that are happening in our childhood. And this is how I am using Lifetime Tales, which is a personal blog I started last year to tell the stories of these children and even to create materials for them. Thank you so much.